Hello everyone, I'm Fiona Apollo. I do art and animation. I really like animation, dedicated a lot of my life to it actually, but it's an infamously difficult career that requires a lot of dedication, networking, and sheer luck to flourish in. And a couple of the shows that I think give a lot of people inspiration and hope within the medium are projects like these: Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, created by Vivian Medrano, better known online as Vivziepop. Vivzie had very humble beginnings as someone who one day just uploaded some cool looking animations on YouTube in the early days, and eventually became so popular that she has been able to not only pursue her passion full-time with the help of many supporters, but also employ a crew and spawn a studio in order to work on her own projects. She's more or less the blueprint for online success within cartoon spaces, and is someone that many aspire to be. For a lot of us, Viv is living the dream. She's doing what so many of us could only fantasize about. However, recently a former member of her crew has come forward alleging about the conditions that have been fostered during the production of Vivzie's projects. The person who many thought to be this lovely, ambitious artist who is just trying to fulfill her dreams is now being made out to be this very toxic individual who mistreats her staff and mocks other creators' works in favour of her own. But in that same vein, multiple people who are working on Hell of a Boss currently have also come to her defence and said nothing but good things. So where should we all stand on this? Today we'll be going over what has been released so far in relation to this issue, and I wanted to talk about this specifically because it's something that I'm concerned about as someone who's been keeping up with the actions being taken by animators in Burbank in the hopes of a new deal for better working conditions in the animation industry. It's worth noting that Burbank is where Spindlehorse Toons, Vivzie's animation studio, is located, and the things that Vivzie is being accused of have a lot of similarities to what workers in this area have been experiencing, which is why this specific drama has piqued my interest. If Vivzie has truly been doing what she's been accused of, belittling fellow animators like Dana Terrace, mocking other shows' art styles such as Villainous, and more concerningly, overworking and underpaying her staff, giving them incredibly tight deadlines to the point where some of them are pulling all-nighters, supposedly not allowing them to speak positively about other indie projects, and even attempting to blacklist the people she has relied on to help create her vision, then it's likely that she may have been feeding into the crushing conditions that animation workers have been dealing with in this area, and that is a very worrying thought, if any of it is true. So let's buckle up and look into it. Please note that things are still very early on and we still need to wait and see if any further evidence is brought forth, so please don't start slinging harassment towards either party. Actually, don't do that even after we find out. That helps no one and it's pointless. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. Alright, let's dive in. So let's start from the beginning. Who is Vivziepop and where are we up to in regards to what she's doing? Just a heads up, I'm not a Vivziepop superfan or anything, so I may get a few things wrong. Just pop a comment below if you notice anything. Vivian Medrano is a Salvadorian-American animator who created her YouTube channel in 2012, where she would upload speedpaints of her OCs, some of which can be seen across different iterations of her works. One of the videos that garnered the most attention early on included an animation made to the song Die Young by Kesha. This video and several others had a heavy focus on very colourful and dynamic OC animations that utilised a lot of upbeat music, bouncy and fluid movements, and featured her unique character designs that often drew attention from the furry community, which helped her to build the foundations of a solid fanbase. This video helped to launch her into the wider lens of the internet. It carries a lot of trademarks of her work, from anthropomorphized characters to her quote-unquote fast animation. Basically, because her animating is very fluid and often done on ones, the movements can feel quite speedy, and getting movement speeds correct in a drawn medium is admittedly very tricky. Spoctor actually did a very good video analysing this exact thing. I'll leave a link to it below. In 2013, she started a webcomic called Zoophobia, a comic that follows a young woman named Cameron who travels to an interspecies sanctuary called Safe Haven. The comic was put on indefinite hiatus in November 2016 so that Viv could put her focus onto her animation projects, and a handful of characters from this comic were actually lifted and repurposed as characters within Has Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. Around 2016 to 17, I couldn't quite pinpoint the exact year, with the help of Patreon, she founded Spindlehorse Toons, the animation studio in Burbank which would produce her cartoons, where she serves as the director, writer, and character designer, and in 2018, the first trailer for Has Been Hotel was released. In October 2019, the pilot episode was finally uploaded to a hugely positive reception. People were extremely impressed and praised Vivzie and the crew for the sheer quality of the pilot. Everything from the designs, the animation, the music, the voice work, and it was really well deserved. It was a massive achievement, and it was through the sheer success of this that her other project Hell of a Boss was greenlit by A24 to be released on her YouTube channel. Exactly 1 year later, in October 2020, the first episode of Hell of a Boss aired on Vivzie's channel, and as of June 2022 has 41 million views. So it's safe to say that Viv has had an extremely lucky and prosperous career online, and it really is admirable. I'm not surprised that many people look up to her in that respect. This, coupled with the fact that she also does give off a very pleasant public persona in the way that she speaks in text, for example, this really helps to push the court of public opinion in her favour. Despite all that though, she has also been wrapped up in a few controversies in the past. She has been accused of several issues such as zoophilia, depicting characters in a student-teacher dynamic in an intimate relationship, character design theft, as well as supporting creators who have done blackface and made transphobic jokes. These claims have been discussed in detail by other people as they happened, and have largely been debunked from what I've seen, and I will link a few videos below if you're interested, as I personally can't verify any of them. But in this video, I'm more interested in what is currently happening right now. So, what's going on? So the Hell of a Boss series would continue to perform fantastically and be really well received by viewers and fans alike. Currently, there are 7 episodes available, with the final one yet to be released, and we've also had a teaser drop for Season 2. When it comes to Season 1, Episode 8, however, a situation has unfolded whereby it was revealed that the final episode is being withheld due to legal matters. What those legal matters are, no one can really say for sure, but it's speculated to be a copyright issue. On the 6th of June 2022, there was a live stream where Vivzie tried to quell agitated fans regarding this with mixed results. And then, not long after, on the 22nd of June, a Tumblr post from a former background artist on Hell of a Boss had surfaced. Erin Frost wrote a lengthy post alleging that Spindlehorse Toons has a profound lack of organisation, professionalism, respect for its artists, and work-life balance. Employees were not allowed to speak positively about other projects, and Vivzie even arranged a Discord call streaming a crossover episode of Villainous with another CN show and urged everyone to pick out every flaw they could and make fun of the episode. Vivzie has also allegedly stated that Dana Terrace, the creator of the Owl House, was quote-unquote utter hell to work with. Even worse, Vivzie is being accused of being a toxic boss. Erin themselves was reportedly working 30 to 40 hours a week at Starbucks in addition to working on the show in order to support themselves. They apparently would be pulling all-nighters to meet deadlines that were given to them only after asking for them, and they ended up being less than a week in advance. Vivzie supposedly didn't have any sympathy for those who weren't able to work full-time as animators, but still expected them to have the same turnout as a full-time employee. She was also apparently quite difficult to get hold of and played favourites, one of whom was Sam Miller, who would be the de facto leader in her absence and acted as a middleman between the crew and Vivzie herself. According to Erin, it was an interaction with Sam who in the beginning was okay, but then progressively became more abusive to crew members, that ultimately made them decide to quit the project. Other people who have either worked on the show or been associated with Vivzie in some way have also come out with similar accusations, but I don't believe that they're quite to the same calibre as what Erin is claiming. Can I just say, oh my god, trying to comb through the amount of allegations and making sense of which one's relevant to what is happening right now is ridiculous. There is so much stuff that Viv has been accused of that a lot of it is being collated into the current situation when in fact it doesn't have anything to do with it. For the record, I don't think all of Viv's past controversies hold much weight here because as she's been popular for a long time, there will always be a substantial amount of people who don't like her just because they don't like her and want to use anything they can to bring their target down. But at the same time, I'm conflicted as to whether these current issues are being brought up just to spite her. It takes a lot to go against a prominent figure, much less someone who apparently has some degree of influence in the industry to be able to blacklist people. There is at present a very concerning environment in the animation field regarding workers' conditions, and the things that Vivzie is being accused of fall into the category of what has been proven to be major issues right now. Favoritism, unforgiving expectations, snide or even abusive behaviour behind closed doors. Even if it's not Viv who has been doing these things specifically, there are so many accounts from people within the industry at large that I find accusations like this incredibly difficult to ignore and wave off as just hate towards a single person. Even if that does end up being the case, this issue needs to be dealt with professionally, otherwise people who truly are experiencing these kinds of circumstances will not be taken seriously in the future should they decide to come forward with their stories. Not only that, Vivzie has a terrifying terrifyingly loyal fanbase who often go to extremes on her behalf. Many people who speak negatively about her have been threatened, doxed, and dogpiled even if what they're saying isn't entirely unwarranted. People are allowed to dislike Vivzie just because. That's kind of unavoidable in the public sphere. A small group of people are going to dislike something or someone no matter what, and unfortunately there's nothing we can really do to stop it. And I think this is what a lot of people miss the point of when they immediately jump to Vivzie's defense because they're a fan of her. You run the risk of perpetuating a messed up system whereby victims are made to feel that coming forward about legitimate toxic workplace situations is pointless just because the claims are being made against your fave. In response to the outcry from Erin's claims, multiple crew members who are still employed at Spindlehorse have come to Vivzie's defense, including Sam Haft, who has done music for both Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss, as well as animators Nicola Rodriguez, Mauricio Gomez, Adam Nalen, Ashley Caballero, Camilla Gonzalez, Michael Roaco, Horror Freak, and Monica Franco, who is the voice of Vaggie. Many of the people mentioned have stated on the record that they have not experienced any kind of crunch or abuse being enforced at Spindlehorse, and were given the freedom to choose however many seconds they get to animate. They also described Vivzie as a warm and kind person. This is obviously in very stark contrast to the claims made by Erin, and just makes it even more confusing as to why they would attempt to paint Vivzie in such a bad light. However, I need you all to understand that almost all of these people either work with the Vivzie right now or have some form of mutually beneficial relationship with her. Office politics are a tricky business, so it wouldn't surprise me if a handful of these people are only coming to Viv's defense to save face with their employer, or are contractually obligated to side with Spindlehorse regarding these types of issues. Is it technically allowed to do that with a contract? Who's to say? But I know that many companies try their luck with it anyway because their workers' livelihoods depend on them still being employed, so we can't rule it out. It could well be that Erin's situation was entirely unique from the others because they were going through a much tougher time, leading to them taking things a bit more personally when issues began to be raised and standards began to slip. And it may have been that the interaction with Sam Miller was intensified due to stress. I'm just taking guesses here because we really can't confirm nor deny what actually transpired. Only Sam and Erin have this knowledge. But I digress. Why would someone risk being eaten alive by Vivzie's supporters and being condemned by former peers just to gather a bit of clout? Especially when this could have a hugely negative effect on Erin's career moving forward. They realistically have so much more to lose than Vivzie does, it just wouldn't be worth the backlash. Despite that though, it is extremely disappointing that all of this talk about toxic work environments and hostility towards staff is even a possibility. Viv represents a lot of people's ideals on how to go from a random person doing something she loves to being able to fully thrive off of it by winning the hearts of many, and we would all like to believe that she has done this by being an approachable and friendly individual who works well within a leadership role. But that said, it's not uncommon for people who achieve success quickly or easily to develop this kind of complex where they believe that they can be more reckless and take certain risks that others would typically suffer the consequences of, and a lot of the time this mindset can feed into a person's perspective and make them believe that their way of thinking is a lot more justified than it truly is. And people can also trick themselves into thinking that what they've managed to do is something everyone can do when that just isn't the case. I think this would explain Vivzie's allegedly unreasonable expectations of her staff. Not that it excuses it, of course, but hopefully you can kind of see where I'm getting at. I'm just trying to understand in my own mind why she would behave in such a way should these accusations be correct. She is definitely someone who I see as a person who made it, and I admire her dedication and skills, but all of that isn't worth devaluing and belittling others who have helped her get to that position. So where do we go from here? So what can we expect from this situation? Well, we still need to see if Vivzie responds first of all. If not, then it will take something substantial to quell these accusations. Whatever the outcome of this happens to be, should one or both parties be found to be at fault, I'm hoping that they can swallow their pride and come forward to own up to their behaviour. It will take a lot of guts and steely nerves considering that the admittance of guilt will also come with a lot, and I mean a lot, of potential harassment. Vivzie is a prominent figure and has a lot of eyes on her, so I definitely wouldn't want to be in her position right now, and I can sympathise with not wanting to expose yourself to that backlash, especially considering she is on a break from the internet for mental health reasons. And at the same time, I can imagine that if this was potentially a stress-induced vent post from Erin's side that may have grossly exaggerated their experience, I would hope that they will soon come to explain this as well. But regardless of who's at fault and who isn't, the people who enjoy these projects should be able to see that the people involved are able to step up and take accountability when needed. Several people speaking out against her have said that they don't want Vivzie being taken down for the sake of it, and want her to understand the implications of these situations in order to grow into a better version of herself. If this side does end up being in the right, then I think that's a pretty fair request. It is extremely difficult to prove abuse in the workplace, so obviously a lot of these accusations can't be easily affirmed unless we have something concrete to go off of, such as messages, video, or voice recordings. But I highly doubt that anything like that exists currently, and if it does, we would also need to verify other aspects such as whether or not it is truly Vivzie or Sam Miller speaking or messaging. But there is a problem with this, and that is NDA. Non-disclosure agreements, when working on creative projects, ensure that certain consequences are faced if a person is caught releasing sensitive information. This is generally put in place for situations such as leaks, but it can also be done to avoid people working at a certain location being doxed and put at risk. Some studios ban any and all footage being recorded within them in order to avoid this. If someone was to release footage of Vivzie or Sam, this could incur serious implications. It's also worth noting that NDAs can prohibit employees from speaking about their workplace or employers in certain ways, which could explain the way that many animators came to Vivzie's defense, but we really just do not know that for sure. I wouldn't imagine that Spindlehorse would enforce such a contract from the way the crew spoke about Vivzie, but again, we are all outsiders in this and can't say for sure what is truly going on. With all that in mind, we may not find out what truly happened, but I hope that whatever has transpired, it can be dealt with and resolved peacefully. This is of course wishful thinking, but I and many others are at no liberty to deliver absolute judgment on these individuals. We can only hope that they are able to talk it through together like the adults that they are. Thank you for watching, and if you do like this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I do a bunch of art-related things on this channel, including art commentary, animations, and I'm even working on developing a short series for fun. What do you all think of what's going on? And who do you think is in the right or wrong, and why? Admittedly, I don't know. I'm sympathetic to Erin's side of things, but I also want to be wrong about that, and for all of this to just be a big misunderstanding on both ends that can be talked through peacefully and put to rest. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see on that. Anyway, this is where I leave you. Stay safe, everyone. Bye!